this video, I'm going to show you how I use Canva to create my group projects and then kind of how I use them differently with each kind of group of students. So the first thing is, if you don't have a Canva account, you can create it for free. They have a lot of things that are free for educators on here, and so there's a lot of templates where we don't have to add the clip art and everything. It's already there. Of course, if you want to be creative and create your own, you can do that. They have lots of text and images and backgrounds and opportunities. So I would start with a presentation. So I'm going to show you this presentation. And so what I did was I did not create this. I just found someone else's and I modified it. So for our projects, I would want their project title, their name, and then where it has a little picture, the students are going to insert a picture here. And then I'm going to tell them what exactly I want. So I'm going to put mathematician, what do they contribute? So this would kind of be the basic layout I would give my students. Now, if I have students that have higher needs, or maybe they need a modification of an assignment, the really nice thing about Canva is I can just click these three dots and I can click duplicate, and then I would take it. And maybe I have a student that needs more information. So now I'm not only saying like mathematician, but I'm telling them the specific mathematician that I need them to look up. And then also, instead of write about what they contributed, I wrote write 3 sentences explaining what your person contributed to math. So here's the really nice part about this. So I would take this template and I would build it for my highest achieving students. And then I can make a copy of the entire template. And then I can adapt it for students that need more information. And so my student groups could get the information that they needed at the level they need. And then when I was done, I would click share and I can share it with them. So that's what I really like about Canva, is I can just create it at the level that I need for my higher achievers, and then I just modify it as we go down. The other thing about it is you can give students a lot of freedom here. So my students that need a template, here's a template for your project. Here's what I'm expecting. My students that don't need as much, I told them this is an outline and they can go and create it with whatever template that they like when they find on Canva. The other thing about Canva is if you're doing this as a group project, which I like to do, I just assigned each student a slide number. So you're in charge of slide 2, you're in charge of slide 3, slide 4. So one thing that I did find with Canva, unlike Google Slides, is that students can make changes on other people's slides and you don't have an edit history. So like in Google Slides, you can see who changes the slide last and what they did. But in Canva, if a student went in and had typed their sentences, another student goes in and changes the sentences, you would not be able to see that. So what I did to kind of help with that is I created a slide at the beginning. So right after slide 1, I would insert just a blank slide. And I did this for each group. So you do make a lot of copies of the presentation, but I did find this very helpful. So what I would do is I would just put at the front, and I just created the one, and then I just copied it for all of them. So I would say your name, and then I would put slide number. And so a lot of times it wasn't that students were doing it to be mean or anything. They just didn't know what slide they were in charge of, or if somebody had done their slide, they weren't really sure what to do. So I found that if I just added this information, their name and their slide number, to a blank slide to start, that helped clear up what slide each student was supposed to be doing. And so once I was done with all of this, before I gave it to the students, I would go and make a copy. So at the top, I clicked home and then I picked projects, and here's a project. So once I was done, I would add my rubric and everything. But once I was done, I would come here and then I would just make a copy. So now I'm making a copy of the entire presentation. So as I made copies, what I found was really helpful is I would number my groups. And so if I needed to make like 20 copies or 30 copies, as I made a copy, I would just rename it. So I'm going to show you what it's going to look like. So I made 2 copies. So if you click on the pencil, I could just change this to group 1 project, and I would do that for each. And then if I needed to modify, if group 1 was the group that needed more detailed instructions, I could go in and I could edit group 1's project. So now no one else in the class is going to know that in group 1, these students got more information, or maybe in group 1, I gave them
less sentences to write. The only way they would know that is if a student in the group showed another student. And then you could have that conversation about different needs. But I didn't find that happening in the classroom. I just made my groups, and then I modified this, and I named them all the same, and the layout looks the same. So the students aren't knowing that they're getting something different from their classmates. So this is how I did group projects with Canva. Again, I really liked the creativity part of it, and I found that my students really liked it. But that one downside was that edit history if you have a student that does change another student's information.